Alright guys, well, I'm back today with probably one of the nicest first focal plane optics I've ever had out to the channel, the brand new Primary Arms Compact PLxC 1:8 first focal plane. It comes in a wide variety of ACSS reticle systems and they're available on Primary Arms' site, and all of that information will be in the campsite page below. I'm always posting my favorite deals and sales from Primary Arms in the campsite page, as well as my Instagram, Patreon, and newly formed Twitter account, so definitely check me out on those platforms. And before we get too far into the review, I do want to give a huge shout out to Callaway Ballistics for sponsoring the ammo to help make this video. They also just updated the code 704 Tactical to now be 5% off and free shipping on orders over $200, and they got 9mm under $11 a box of 50 and free shipping over 200 after the code 704 Tactical, so definitely check these guys out. Now, what makes this optic unique and special? It's the fact that it includes so many nice features and such a compact and sleek design at a reasonably affordable price considering some of the other top tier competitors. This one comes in right at about $1,500, which is definitely a lot of money for an LPVO, but not compared to some of its competitors. This is about half the price of some other top tier offerings. You also get a lot of features that those other top tier ones don't necessarily offer, like shake awake illumination technology inside an LPVO. One of the first things I want to mention is just a rough overview of this optic so you can get a better understanding of what you're getting. And if you want a more detailed list of specs and features, again, head over to that campsite page. One of the first things I want to mention is the fact that it does have a 30mm tube and it's a reasonably compact design. It comes in at about 17 ounces, and because it's so compact and lighter weight, it really balances nicely on top of a flat top AR. It does have the ED glass, and then it also has illumination, and the knob is located on the side. It's got on and off points in between each of the illumination settings, which is pretty cool, but it also has auto live motion sensing technology, which you guys are familiar with in a lot of modern day red dots. This is perfect because on an LPVO you can zoom to the 1 power setting and utilize this as a pseudo red dot. We'll talk a little bit more about the reticle later on, but in a nutshell, generally on an LPVO, the 1 power setting is truly a 1 power setting at this price range, and this one is. So you could just kind of pull it up very quickly, do some CQB, personal defense shooting up close, and the illumination will automatically turn on, so you don't have to fumble with buttons or knobs, making this an actual kind of duty grade optic in my opinion. You don't have to worry about the battery running dead because it automatically turns off and then turns back on when it senses motion. So if you are shooting at dusk, twilight, or a personal defense situation at night, you don't have to worry about fumbling with buttons, which is a key element to why I like this optic so much. The illumination also gets insanely bright for an LPVO, not necessarily the brightest I've ever seen. Primary Arms does make an optic with the Fire Dot Nova. That gets a little bit brighter than this, but this is definitely daytime bright in most situations, which is really hard pressed for an LPVO, especially a first focal plane LPVO. And that's what I want to discuss next, the fact that this is a first focal plane optic, meaning as you zoom in and out, the reticle gets larger and smaller depending on the zoom level, and the bullet drop compensation is effective at every single zoom level. Now, this is the Raptor M8 set up for 5.56 and 308, but they have a few different variations of the reticle system. But the cool thing about each of these in the first focal plane optic is if you zoom in at the 3 power setting, that bullet drop compensation and ranging tools are effective at every single zoom level. So if you are tracking game across a field at the 1 or 2 power setting, you zoom in and don't quite hit the 8, you still want to get that bullet drop compensation. That's fine on a first focal plane optic. Now, some gives and takes with that. A lot of times first focal plane optics have a more limited eye box and eye relief than a second focal plane optic, and that is the case with this one, but it does have a fairly forgiving eye box and eye relief, meaning how far away and close up to the optic you may be. Now at the 1 power setting, it's perfectly good for that CQB and personal defense shooting. It also has an adjustable diopter located on the rear, and this truly is a 1 power setting. Now when you are looking at the reticle selection on this one, I'm going to show you guys what it looks like at both the 1 and 8 power setting. So at the 1 power setting, you can still use this effectively, and that's another downfall of a lot of first focal plane optics is sometimes they get so small at the 1 power setting you can't make out the reticle system, or it becomes unusable for a red dot. With the illumination in twilight and dusk, and without the illumination for bright daytime use with a whiter background, the black leader lines lead your eye into the center, and that CQB ring acts as a red dot, allowing you to take your shots very effectively. But when you zoom in, you can see it's got a ton of information for both ranging, bullet drop compensation, leader lines, and moving target holds, as well as a chevron tip for an infinity point to aim to shoot well out past 500 and 600 yards. So this is a great option for both close-up and far-away shooting. Generally, for first focal plane optics, I don't necessarily recommend a lot of them in the LPVOs for close-up shooting unless you're going to be doing it occasionally. This one, on the other hand, works perfectly for close-up shooting and distance shooting, as you see here. And then it also has a ton of other nice features, including, and I really want to stress this, the premium grade Japanese ED glass. That right there is an impressive feat, which allows it to be used as a longer range optic. Sometimes when you get an LPVO, even though it has the 8 power setting, it doesn't necessarily perform at distance because it's harder to make out your targets. With that chevron aiming point inside the ACSS reticle system and the ultra clear glass, this hands down works amazing at distance. And this truly is one of the best jack of all trades optics I've ever seen, and what I would put on an AR if I did not necessarily have a budget in mind. Now, there are also other premium options and mid-tier options, as well as entry-level options from Primary Arms. So if this is out of your price range, you can definitely check out those options on my channel, as well as the campsite page, which will link to some of my favorites. Every once in a while, they'll have sales and deals on a lot of different things, so you'll want to check out those campsite pages and other platforms that I discussed to find those best options. Is this a cheap optic? No, but it doesn't act like a cheap optic, and it comes in at half the price of some of its competitors. Primary Arms is blowing me out of the water with the optics they're producing lately, and they're one of the first websites I go to, hands down, every single time to check on optics, especially LPVOs to put on top of an AR. This is a great new addition that's just well balanced, well engineered, and well designed for almost any possible shooting application you can think of on top of an AR. Now, are there going to be better options in different categories? Well, yes, there's going to be better precision rifle scopes than this because it's not a precision rifle scope. Are there going to be better CQB options? Yeah, maybe a large frame viewing window red dot will be better for CQB, but the way this seamlessly merges CQB and long range shooting all into one platform has blown me away, especially when you consider the price versus some of the other top tier competitors. Again, all of the information will be in the description below. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one.